Hello guys, how are you doing? I seem to be having network issues that's going straight to you on the wall. So from last night's Motherhood, Tatako vibes, Lalela. I was like, wow. But it is important for us to put things into context in terms of each person goes through certain experiences. So when I look at the comments on my wall regarding the mother of the gentleman, so we all are saying she's heartless, she's cold, but we haven't really understood in terms of where she's coming from, also the experiences between her and the son, because the son was threatening to kill them, the son was threatening to kill himself, or has even tried to kill himself. So this is about mother wounds, guys. And when I touched on this, I was feeling that it's one of those things we don't like talking about because the role of mother is always put up in society as something that is amazing, that should always go well. But sometimes it does not go well. And we need to have the courage to have those conversations when it is not going well, so that we know what work we need to do to fix our parenting relationships with our children, also to fix ourselves as we are starting our parenting relationships, because this empowers us to show up differently. If we were not parented well, meaning our parents were not available for us, how are we now having the skills, tools to show up differently? Also, understanding the needs per generation differ. When we grew up in my time, we could easily relate with other kids and share our experiences with other kids and be able to get the support emotionally that we needed to navigate whatever we're going through. But looking at society now, how we've moved to living in our own worlds, be as individual as possible. So whatever our kids are going through, it becomes hard to share or to even look at how other people are navigating the same challenges they have. So leaving them feeling alone. So we need to understand that parenting journeys are not the same, but also parenting contexts shifts change depending on that generation's dynamics. So I was gonna leave this alone because the last time I did this live, it cut me off. So that's why I'm recording it, because I can see also today the Wi-Fi is in and out and going on and off for whatever reason. So when you look at what I'm sharing with you now, we have generational inheritance in terms of emotional energy we have. When you look at this picture, it talks about the grandmother who they have or they are pregnant with the person that would be your mom. But when any female child is born, she's born with all the eggs she will ever have in order to have any children, which is where we get our menstrual cycle from when we reach the certain age. So when you look at that, whatever trauma that grandmother is going through, the mother is going through it, because if she's not born yet, she's still the egg. But nonetheless, whichever that emotional trauma when she's pregnant, she's going through, whichever that emotional trauma, if she's not pregnant, the eggs are still in her body, if she's been raped, that energy is still going through her. So we are carrying with ourselves the energy of the people we come from. So if you are a male child, basically you are the egg in whoever's body, doesn't matter what they're going through, you are also part of that energy field. So we need to be conscious that some of the wounds we have, sometimes they're not even ours, but they are the people who carried us, or they are belonging to our mothers, they are belonging to our grandmothers. So that is why we need to test what is it that we are going through. Why is it so hard for this family to get along? Because if it is hard for the family to get along, where is this energy of conflict coming from? And when you look at what I have there, pain will travel through that family, meaning from generation to generation, until someone is ready to feel the pain and heal the pain and choose differently. That is how we pass on a certain energy field. You'll find there's always a favorite child. And if that favorite child is spoiled and doesn't do what needs to be done, other kids are not feeling welcomed, other kids are not feeling loved. So the pain continues. And when the person who was feeling rejected, they will do the same thing to their own children, because they haven't felt their own pain and decided to evolve and be different. So let us understand that there is something beyond us that we are going through, and we have to take responsibility for us. It's easy to say, I didn't have parents, so I'm now like this. No, we are now like this because of the decisions we are making right now. Ngokwesintu, meaning in our culture, and there are things we believe should be done for us. There are things we believe when our family takes ownership of who we are. Khona imisebenzi abayenzayo, khona rituals that they do, all and well. But if that has not happened, does it mean now your life is doomed? No, it doesn't. But the responsibility you choose to take in the decisions you are making remain your responsibility. And that is how we can take the power we have over the direction of our lives back to us. Because when you look at the episode from yesterday, the gentleman has been to jail, the gentleman has done certain things. So are we saying that me not having my parents, me not being owned by my father or by my mother's family or whoever I'm saying should own me, is the reason I'm making these decisions? So we really need to be careful where we are putting our power, where we are putting our focus, and where we are putting the foundation of what we do and why we do it. Because the power we always have is the decision that I'm making in terms of the life that I'm living. And we all know, for example, a simple thing like taking drugs. No one has ever said to us, when you take drugs, you can be successful. We know, we've seen people do it. But for some reason, we make certain decisions which lead in a certain direction. And when we get in that direction, we are now saying it's because we didn't have parents. We're now saying we were not owned. So there's a part that is us guys that I need us to take responsibility for. And there's part where we need to go focus and heal our mother wounds, heal our father wounds. Okay? Because if those parts are being interchanged, we might find ourselves not having a part that we are playing or the responsibility that we are taking. And this limits us even further and keeps us further out of the power we have to change our lives. So when you're focusing on the mother wounds, since May we are focusing on mothers, I'm getting messages about we are having problems with my child. I need the mothers to look, how are we showing up to our children? Number one, guys, the first question is, are you raising your child? And if you're dealing with an adult, have you raised them? And by raising them, I don't mean the physical body. The physical body we provide shelter for, we provide food for. You know, you are doing those things because you're living in that house. So that is how I've approached parenting, because I'm a parent of two boys. That as an adult, it's my job to provide shelter. As an adult, it's my job to provide food. So I can't say that I'm parenting because of that. Because even I, as an adult, I need those things. But what am I planting to the character, to the soul of my child? That is parenting. That is being conscious of my action is leading to this. My action is going to yield these results. But if what I've done to the best of my ability is not yielding the results that I hoped for, I can rest well and say I did my best. I can rest well and say I have done my part, because each individual comes with something called free will. There's an age where we get to choose what decisions we're going to be making. But if we have done our part as parents, when we get to that point, we can say that with an open heart. So if you didn't raise your child, the moment you need to live with that child, you are going to have challenges, because the child's fiber, and by fiber I mean who they are, is of someone else's teachings, is of someone else's values, is of someone else's beliefs. This is the danger of not raising our own children, because we need to deal with someone else's everything, but this person is called our child. So physically they are our child because we carry them, but emotionally they are not our child. Spiritually they are not our child. Mentally, even the way they think, they could not be our child. So you haven't raised this child is coming to you as a teenager. You are angry that they haven't washed the dishes. You are angry that they haven't thought of cleaning the house because you went to work. There are so many things that you are looking that they are not doing, but the truth is you haven't planted them. So if you're gonna look at a tree and want fruits, for example, you want oranges, but the tree is an apple tree, it's because you don't have understanding of the seeds that were planted in the tree anyway. So can we first start there. If we haven't raised someone and we are meeting them in adulthood, let's be gentle with negotiating with them about who they are, what we expect from them, what they expect from us. Because if you haven't raised the child is wondering, where were you? The child is angry about that. Because when we experience abuse somewhere without our parents, we are always in the hope of that if my mom was here, I wouldn't be going through this. If my father was here, I wouldn't be going through this. So we are angry at your absence. The child is angry at your absence. That is the first point of order to address. Then we check, how critical are we? How unapproving are we? How do we negotiate conflict with this child? Do we become passive aggressive? We take stuff away when we are fighting with them? Are we available emotionally to show up and explain ourselves that I couldn't be with you because of this and that and that? That when your father was abusing me or your mother was abusing me, I was this person. So this is why I was abusing you. Are we the parents who are codependent, where we make the child responsible for our happiness? These are kids who were the reason for the marriage to stay together. That child will forever feel responsible for the quality of relationship between the two parents because we always pull them into our adult conversations. Are we controlling? We want things done the way we want them without the flexibility. So when you look at the dynamics you have and the child that you have, the age of the child is important. Because if you planted the seeds, definitely you should be happy with the tree because it is your tree. But if you haven't planted the tree, you are not going to be happy with the fruits, which means you need to renegotiate. Now, in my culture, Amzulu, they always say, "Likojali seva," meaning you can't bend a tree when it has grown and it is fully up. You need it when it's still flexible, which means the season to plant passes with human beings. After that, it's time to negotiate. It's time to understand. It's time to show up and everybody's hand open. Because if we are just showing up to take, the person who we didn't raise is wondering that you were not here to raise me, but you still want from me. So you haven't invested anything, but you want to go and withdraw. So let's check our own mother wounds, guys. If you look at the two that I just want to focus on, if you were raised by a critical person, someone who's always looking at what is wrong, who's looking at what you're missing, your own self, you're always criticizing yourself. You have a loud inner critic. The conversation with yourself is always one where something is wrong. There's someone who always used to say, I'm stupid, I'm this. So you're always labeling yourself. And that's something which you unconsciously are passing on to your children as well. And when we are doing this, and especially when you have more than one child, you'll start feeling that they are easy kids, they are hard kids, because it depends on what you are measuring. It depends on what you are wanting to approve or disapprove in your children, which is the work you need to do. If you are raised by a controlling person, there are people who are not allowed to get out of their gates. But when you think about life, there's a point where you need to get out of the gate of life, where no one is watching over you, where you need to be a self-regulating person, making your own life decisions. Then if you are trying to force your way out so that you can make your own decision as a child, you become rebellious. And when we are forcing our children to be rebellious because we are controlling based on our own fears, they might really end up making wrong choices and making choices that could cost them, I'm going to call it, a certain part of their life. Because with every action, there's consequences. It's not punishment, guys, it is consequences of our actions. And if we take responsibility of our actions, then the consequences that come, we are at peace with them. When you look at the different mother wounds and how they show up, this is very important to check yourself in how you show up in your relationships. Shrinking yourself to be loved, that means you were raised needing to earn love. There are people who are favorites, there are people who are not favorites. So for you to be seen, there's something you needed to do. Some people were the smart kids, some people were the beautiful kids, some people were the neat ones. We all find a way to be seen because we feel that we should be struggling, or we should be, I'm going to call it, auditioning with our parents, because our parents are unapproving, because our parents are critical. So it depends. So look for yours. Other people could be avoiding conflict to keep the peace. And this is with people who had parents who shout a lot. So what do? You shut up for the sake of peace. And sometimes you are right, but you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to be in the bad books. So you're avoiding this conflict. But when you move in adulthood or you move into relationships, you move to workspaces, there is conflict. And conflict needs to what? Be handled, which is why there's something called conflict resolution courses, conflict management courses. Because some of us don't have the skills to show up. Some of us, we were raised to not show up. We were told to shut up. So we die alone. We die not having spoken. So it is important to check who raised you, how did they treat you, and how are you treating yourself, and how are you treating people around you. The last one I want to highlight on is feeling responsible for your mom's happiness, codependence. Feeling responsible for your mom's happiness is big. If you are growing up seeing your mother being abused, seeing your mother in any way, be it emotional, be it physical, be it financial, you grow up wanting to be their savior. So that creates your own conflict with your mom, but also with your dad or whoever it is that is abusing your mother. It could even be family members. But you start to take responsibility for the parent. So you're becoming the parent. And when you move into any relationship, you start parenting people who haven't asked you to parent them. And if you were to really be asked who asked you, you wouldn't be able to answer. It's because at an early age, we learned to be responsible for the peace of our mothers, for the love and happiness of our mothers, for their security. So whichever way your wound shows up and the intensity of your wound, that is for you to check, what help am I getting for this? Because if we are not aware, we're going to move into relationships and create opportunities for these wounds to be a reality again and again and again, if we are not taking time out to feel them and take responsibility. So road to recovery, guys, it is the willingness to say, I am going to go on a journey of self-awareness. And by self-awareness, we are meaning, there's a post I just shared on my wall now about the things that are unconscious. The moment we are willing to make them conscious, meaning we are willing to see them, we are willing to see the patterns in our lives, we are willing to see the things that happen when we are making decisions silently in our mind, and then do what is necessary for the healing of those things, for the alignment of our thoughts, our words, our actions, so that we are not thinking it is fate. Nothing is fate. Decisions make it fate. So emotional awareness, firstly, and going in and digging deep into the source of our being in terms of who are we, what is the seed in us? Because the fruit is definitely evident. The fruit is there, the tree is there, but what is the seed? And am I happy with the seed quality? And what are you willing to do about it? Because if you respond in anger, respond with fear, with guilt, we are still doing exactly what was done to us, but now we are doing it ourselves. So before we move to relationship management, where we are conflict managing other people, it's already at the outside phase. The inside phase is where we have total control, is where we have the opportunity to choose differently, to be different, and then to grow differently. So reflection work, guys, check yourself. How are you showing up? Serving? Are you serving? Are you pleasing? Are you a balanced person in terms of giving and receiving? Or are you the one who makes sure everyone is at peace? People stay, people go, you're always worried. Check this with your friendships. Check this with yourself. Check this with your partner. And please check it with your children as well, so that you know, how am I showing up and why am I showing up like that? The psyche, totality of a human mind, conscious and unconscious. So our psyche is everything we've been exposed to since the day we were in someone's womb. And when you see that first picture I showed you, you were inheriting even before you were, conceived. So you, as whoever you were, in whoever gave birth to you, you have been accumulating this psyche, and that is what we need work on. First, home is your mother, and that's the first female relationship we have. And if we are ladies, we normally are in conflict with that because of whatever we are resisting. And if we are gentlemen, for example, the first relationship my sons have with the female is me. And depending on how that relationship goes, it is who they will either choose to be with in future or choose to run away from. So we have to know that whatever we're doing, I normally laugh and say about my sons, I'm raising someone's husband. So I'm conscious that no matter what I do, there's an impact. So our role, guys, is to raise our kids in a way that they have as minimal, as less healing work they do from being exposed to us. But that can only happen if we are willing to heal ourselves from who raised us. Okay. So I'm hoping that is clear. So from the requests, guys, there are two things you can do. It's focusing on your own inner healing, which is what I call the healing journey. Getting emotionally unstuck, going into your own self and really unlocking what are the things that are a burden to me as an individual. That is the work we gotta do. That is the work we have to do so that we show up differently in our personal relationships. And if you have done this work, you are aware, fully aware of your wound, but also have the skills to heal your wound and the emotions that normally would be so intense that we feel stuck. Okay. And that is a 3-week course. For the information, there's that details at the bottom. Then for parents, so conscious parenting course or conscious parenting class is a class I created because at the end of the day, when we become adults, we are a product of someone else. And most of the things that we are dealing with in adulthood, they happen in our childhood. So in conscious parenting, I am equipping parents to be aware of how they're showing up, to be conscious of their behavior, of their way of being, how it imprints onto their children, and also to heal their parenting relationships. Because if we are not aware, we cannot go to a space of correcting. But when we are aware, we can then move to showing up intentionally so that we can plant what we want to see, the tree, the seeds to the tree of the fruits that we want to see. And we can have harmonious parenting relationships. Because some mistakes we make as adults, we were running away from our parents. And how do you know a teenager is running away from their parents? They will tell you, I want to go as far as possible for my university. They are running from you because you are too much, because you are critical, because we are judgmental. And it is not to say our children are angels, but it is to say that we are creating an environment that is conducive for them to be the best that they can be. Okay, so running away from home, if you are over 30, you know what I'm talking about. And if we are now parenting, how are we making sure our kids won't be running away from us? That is why the conscious parent class or the conscious parenting course exists. It is also 3 weeks, it is also online. There I even give video coaching where we actually interact, because it's not just about us anymore, it's about also who we're showing up as for the souls that we are nurturing. All right, guys, that is all I wanted to share. I'll hear from you. Let me know if this resonates with you. Let me know and comment also in terms of how you are navigating your own parenting journey or your own emotional or healing journey, and how the impact of that in your different relationships affects you and improves the quality of those relationships. Thank you very much. Bonisa Dada, transformation coach. And for those who would like to touch base, details on my inbox, but also info@anandacoaching.co.za or WhatsApp the number. Thank you.